Cubaan suara, boleh dengar ke?
Boleh.
Boleh.
Terima kasih. Rasanya kita dah boleh mulakan lah ya. Dijangka 2.20, sekarang mengikut jam saya 2.22. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Bagi memberkati program kita pada hari ini, mari kita mulakan dengan Al-Fatihah. Amin, amin, amin ya rabbal alamin. Dengan sukacitanya, saya mewakili seluruh ahli jawatan kuasa ingin mengucapkan selamat datang ke program 3MI iaitu 3 Minutes Idea, Anjuran Pusat Pengajian Siswazah UiTM Cawangan Johor. Yang dihormati Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad, Rektor UiTM Cawangan Johor, Dr. Nur Sufiawati Hairani, Ketua Pusat Pengajian Siswazah UiTM Cawangan Johor, para panel jemputan yang juga merupakan para pensyarah UiTM daripada kampus yang berbeza. Seterusnya, para peserta yang mungkin sekarang ni sedang berdebar dan tidak sabar untuk menanti giliran masing-masing untuk membuat pembentangan. Sukacita saya ingin memperkenalkan sedikit tentang program kita pada hari ini. Program 3MI ini merangkumi 2 sesi yang melibatkan pelajar Siswazah Sarjana dan PhD UiTM Cawangan Johor. Untuk makluman semua, sesi 1 program telah pun dilaksanakan pada 11 Disember iaitu hari Jumaat yang lepas. Para peserta telah diberikan taklimat oleh Dr. Amin Habibi yang merupakan pensyarah kanan daripada APB kampus Pasir Gudang. Peserta diberi pendedahan mengenai kaedah membentangkan idea penyelidikan dalam masa 3 minit sahaja. Sesi kedua iaitu pada hari ini melibatkan pembentangan idea penyelidikan oleh setiap peserta kepada panel yang dipilih berdasarkan bidang bersesuaian dalam tempoh 3 minit. Tanpa membuang masa lagi, sekarang saya ingin menjemput Dr. Nur Sufiawati Hairani, Ketua Pusat Pengajian Siswazah UiTM Cawangan Johor untuk menyampaikan kata-kata aluan. Dipersilakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Terima kasih ya kepada Puan Nur Syazana Ngarisan, moderator program 3 Minutes Idea Pitch ataupun 3MI kita hari ini. Saya ingin mengalu-alukan kedatangan dan pelibatan semua serta ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih khususnya kepada Tuan Rektor kita iaitu Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad. Pelibatan Prof insya-Allah menunjukkan passion Prof terhadap penyelidikan dan sokongan pihak pengurusan tertinggi UiTM Cawangan Johor terhadap program-program postgrad khususnya yang bersifat research based. Okey, untuk panel-panel luar UiTM Cawangan Johor juga saya ingin mengucapkan selamat datang khususnya kepada Dr. Muhammad Riwai, KPP FSKM daripada UiTM Terengganu. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan selamat datang kepada Dr. Azhani Arsyad daripada Fakulti Undang-Undang UiTM Shah Alam. Terima kasih kerana sudi menjadi panel kita hari ini. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan selamat datang dan ribuan terima kasih kepada panel-panel dalaman UiTM Cawangan Johor sendiri, sama ada dari Pasir Gudang ataupun Segamat. So kita punya experts memang sangat-sangat supportive, memberi sokongan yang padu terhadap program-program postgrad seperti hari ini. Okey, saya juga ingin mengucapkan selamat datanglah kepada, terima kasih kepada semua peserta kita, silent participants kita hari ini, dan juga kepada 11 orang pelajar postgrad UiTM Cawangan Johor sesi pengambilan Oktober 2020. Kita ada 7 orang pelajar PhD serta 4 orang pelajar master yang akan membentangkan idea penyelidikan masing-masing hari ini. Good luck dan tolonglah anggapkan pengalaman hari ini, presentation hari ini sebagai pengalaman kalian yang pertama di dalam latihan perkongsian idea penyelidikan kalian secara terbuka. Okey, kepada para panel, peserta dan tim PPS, mereka ni merupakan your support lah. Okey, support system demi kejayaan pengajian kalian. Okay, so sebarang pandangan, cadangan, komen yang diterima sewaktu presentation hari ini. So ambil untuk tujuan penambahbaikan idea penyelidikan masing-masing. Okay, as for that, saya ucapkan sekian terima kasih. Good luck tau para peserta. Okay?
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Dr. Nur Sufiawati di atas kata alu-aluan sebentar tadi. Okay, sebelum kita mulakan kita punya sesi pembentangan, saya ingin membuat sedikit peringatan. Borang penilaian untuk panel telah kami kongsikan linknya di ruangan chat. Peringatan juga, borang ini hanya untuk diisi oleh panel yang telah dipilih sahaja. Kemudian kami akan cuba memastikan setiap sesi pembentangan mengambil masa selama 10 minit sahaja, iaitu 3 minit untuk pembentangan oleh peserta dan masa selebihnya adalah sesi soal jawab di antara panel dan juga peserta. Saya akan cuba untuk beri peringatan setiap kali jika masa telah lebih, kerana kita cuba untuk follow jadual. Kita ada 11 orang peserta yang akan membuat pembentangan pada hari ini. Dan borang kehadiran juga kita akan sertakan di ruangan chat sebentar nanti. Okay. Untuk sesi yang pertama, dengan hormatnya saya ingin menjemput panel penilai kita yang pertama, iaitu Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad. Panel jemputan yang kedua, Profesor Madya Dr. Muhammad Halim Kadri. Okay. Sesi yang pertama dijadualkan bermula pada pukul 2.30 petang ini hingga 2.40 petang. Calonnya adalah Muhammad Khidir Baharudin daripada ACIS. Okay. Kita jemput panel penilai yang seterusnya untuk sesi ini, iaitu Dr. Muhammad Ali Muhammad Don. Okay. Tajuk pembentangan oleh Muhammad Khidir Baharudin daripada ACIS adalah Cryptocurrencies from Islamic Law and Malaysian Law Perspective. Dengan segala hormatnya saya mempersilakan.
Macam mana nak share skrin? Hello?
Ya,
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Saya tak, macam mana nak share skrin?
Boleh present
Ya.
now.
Okay.
Present
Saya
now.
macam ni je lah.
Okay.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Transaction tools between people are changed over time. We can understand this situation by looking at the history of money, from barter system to commodity money, precious metals, and debt-based money. Along with the development of science and technology, human being is managed to create money, electronic money. For example, e-cash, debit card, credit card. However, there are some limitation of these tools. They may be limited by laws and rules of a country, limited in terms of privacy, transaction costs, safety, inflation, and so on. Therefore, in 2009, the first decentralized cryptocurrency, namely Bitcoin, was created, which is to overcome the mentioned issues. Other than Bitcoin, there are a lot of cryptocurrencies such as Libra, Monero, Litecoin, and so on. This kind of currency emerged as a new tool of transaction to overcome all issues in the previous tool. From Islamic law perspective, Omar Al-Khattab said, لا يبيع في سوقنا إلا من تفقه قد تفقه في الدين. No one shall sell in our market except one who has understanding the religion. From this asar, it is important to understand the market. understand the tools of transaction, particularly understand the cryptocurrency, so that no one will break and breach the laws Allah prohibition. At the same time, it is important to understand the Malaysian law regarding cryptocurrency so that the law will not be break or breached. My objective from my thesis will be to examine the cryptocurrency itself, to identify the legality of cryptocurrency from Islamic law, to identify the legality of cryptocurrency from Malaysian law, and lastly to make a recommendation. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, terima kasih Encik Muhammad Hidi. Saya persilakan panel penilai jika ada ingin bertanya sebarang soalan.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's always the basic question is that this is quite a broad topic lah in the first place, because you're talking about currency from Islamic law and Malaysian law perspective.
Yes.
My view is that probably are you talking about the legality of cryptocurrency, or is it about the permissibility? If you're talking about that, then it's one of the study. Or are you talking about the contract, or are you talking about trading of using the medium of cryptocurrency? So at least there are three areas here. So looking at your objective, I would rather say that your focus as my first view that is about the legality lah.
Yes.
If you want to add a little bit like cryptocurrency permissibility from Islamic law and Malaysian law perspective, probably that will be the word that capture your study will be very focused. For us, the study look like the topic itself look like very broad topic lah. Okay, or cryptocurrencies permissibility ataupun Sharia compliance of cryptocurrency atau Sharia compliance with the view of Sharia, something like that. From Islamic law, Malaysian law perspective, permissibility can be in Sharia sense it's going to be is it permissible or not permissible? Yet in the Malaysian law, is it permissible or not permissible? So you can add one word there: cryptocurrency permissibility from Islamic law and Malaysian law perspective. Okay, number one. Number two, when you choose this topic, my worry is that because cryptocurrency is there for quite some time, you better check whether somebody have done the same topic here or elsewhere, because the risk of this kind of topic normally, you at the end of the day, once you're about to submit or the middle of your research, then you discover that, oh, somebody have done this topic. What I'm going to do then? So this is the risk of this kind of topic, unless you're going to be very specific to a certain area that you think that people are not going to go into the area. For example, they're talking about the trading or something about the contract, a specific contract, or about khairul majlis or whatever it is. You can think about that. If the way you discuss me is all about cryptocurrency permissibility, and has been a long debate, and I think this has been interest for many researchers. Just for you to be very careful lah. Sometimes we want to do something that's very good, but then at the middle of the way we discover that it has been done by somebody else. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Terima kasih Encik Muhammad Hidi Baharudin di atas pembentangan sebentar tadi. Terima kasih juga kepada panel penilai.
Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Silakan Doktor.
Boleh nak tanya sikit je, ni Ustaz Hidir ya? Okey Ustaz, apa ni? Begini, Ustaz nak kaji tentang cryptocurrency dan kaitannya dengan Islamic law dengan legal law dekat Malaysia ni kan. So, anda nak tanya, Ustaz refer kepada undang-undang apa kat Malaysia ni yang berkaitan dengan cryptocurrency ni. Saya rasa setakat ni belum ada apa-apa undang-undang yang berkaitan lah, saya rasa lah. Mungkin nak nak tengok balik kalau betul-betul tak ada lagi, jadi Ustaz kena tengok balik tu. So, itu saja. Okey, terima kasih.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum Ustaz. Berkaitan dengan metodologi tadi tu, mungkin boleh Ustaz cerita sikit pasal metodologi kajian. Tolong buka mic Ustaz.
Saya akan rujuk kepada kualitatif. Saya akan rujuk kepada kitab-kitab turas Islam, dan juga yang pertama, kemudian saya juga akan rujuk kepada undang-undang, dan jika di Malaysia masih belum ada, saya fikirkan untuk merujuk kepada negara-negara yang sudah mempunyai ada recommendation country yang sudah ada undang-undang berkenaan dengan cryptocurrency, supaya saya boleh letakkan di dalam recommendation saya tentang undang-undang yang bagaimana yang perlu ada di Malaysia. Kemudian selain daripada merujuk kepada buku, saya juga akan menemu ramah orang-orang tertentu, tokoh-tokoh tertentu yang pakar dalam bidang ni. Ya, Prof. Itu jawapan saya.
Okey, terima kasih.
Okay, terima kasih kepada pembentang yang pertama.
Saya tambah sikit lagi, satu je.
Okay, silakan.
Having said that, saya rasa that is a very good point. Kalau misalnya di Malaysia without any proper legal on cryptocurrency, I rather suggest probably start boleh explore on cryptocurrency possibility of implementation in Malaysia, for example. Jadi di sini bila kita ambil based on apa yang ada SC requirement, bank negara requirement, and then kita tengok pula pada kitab-kitab berkaitan cryptocurrency, dan kita kata macam ni kalau ini nak dilaksanakan Malaysia. This will be a kind of research yang baru, dan satu kontribusi yang besar, dan it's also a kind of innovation jugalah in a way. Boleh kalau macam tu, it's good lah. Masuk this area probably a thing that probably be your main contribution. I see that way lah, sebab this is more qualitative, yet you are going to describe the possible of things how to implement in Malaysia. Dan perspektif dan sudut pandang Islam. I think this very good and very good research lah. Thank you.
Ya, Prof. Terima kasih, thank you.
Okay, ada apa-apa lagi ke daripada pihak panel?
Boleh saya Dr. Noraiza, boleh saya add up a little bit, maybe since Ustaz Hidir nak buat on qualitative research, as Prof mention, sebab dia is more on exploratory, maybe boleh keluarkan satu policy yang never exist in Malaysia, explore in terms of what kind of issues that facing Malaysian people bila dia orang nak involve di dalam this kind of situation. Or could be mungkin apa Ustaz Hidir boleh start with by exploring the existing framework which is related with the legal issues. Sebab sekarang ni berkisar kepada what issues first, saya rasa baru can go to in depth, regardless objektif yang tadi Ustaz Hidir mention lah. Mungkin from that aspect lah saya mungkin tambah sedikit to start up with, to dig out more information about the gap dalam area research yang Ustaz nak buat. Okay, thank you.
Okay, terima kasih kepada pembentang kita yang pertama, Encik Muhammad Hidir Baharudin daripada ACIS. Seterusnya kita akan pergi kepada pembentang yang kedua. Saya persilakan dulu panel penilai, Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad, Profesor Madya Dr. Muhammad Halim Kadri, Dr. Mahfuzah Muhammad Zabidi dan Dr. Muhammad Ali Muhammad Don. Peserta yang kedua, Rohaya Sulaiman daripada ACIS. Tajuk pembentangan beliau ialah Model Kesejahteraan Mental Tasawuf Sunni. Dipersilakan.
Buka mic Ustazah. Mic.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, saya present now. Saya cannot share lah pula your screen-nya. Kenapa dia tak boleh ni? Tadi saya okey je. Kejap.
Boleh tekan pada present now dan
Saya present now. Saya
choose
present
a
now.
window.
Window kan? Window.
PowerPoint.
Cannot share. Tadi okey je pula. Alahai. Kalau saya keluar kejap atau masuk balik kejap, boleh tak?
Rasanya
Dah buka dah slide tu kat desktop.
Dah buka dah.
Okey, kalau tak boleh window, cuba screen saja.
Apa dia?
Share screen.
Save?
Present now tu. Okey, kemudian share screen.
Share screen.
Klik pada window kecil tu, yang screen tu.
Present now. Share screen.
Okey.
Sekejap, yang ada tiga tu ke? Pergi tiga ke? Tak kan?
Share screen saja.
Aduh dah pula tadi saya boleh buka. Lepas tu kenapa pula dia tiba-tiba tak boleh? Dia ada dua. Satu window, satu your entire screen ni.
Ya, entire screen. Betul.
Oh, your entire screen. Okay. Your entire screen.
Okey.
Dia tulis situ cannot share your screen. Okay, you must grant permission in order to share.
Boleh present je lah without presenting. You don't have to show the screen, you can present. Boleh juga. Macam tadi.
silakan Puan Rahaya Sulaiman.
Alahai, sayang pula dah buat slide-nya. Alahai. Tadi boleh lah pula. Okey. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okey. Hampir 0.5 juta warga Malaysia mengalami kemurungan. Talian sokongan psikososial sahaja telah menerima sebanyak 36,269 panggilan.
What is your topic again?
Mental kesejahteraan, modal kesejahteraan mental tasawuf Sunni. Okey. Selangor dan Johor telah pula baru-baru ini telah mencatatkan kes tertinggi dalam isu keganasan rumah tangga sejak PKP. Manakala seramai 64,366 orang telah menerima khidmat psikologi. Oleh yang demikian, kerajaan telah melihat perkara ini dengan penuh serius dalam belanjawan 2021. Kesan kemurungan dan ketidaksejahteraan mental, apa yang boleh kita lihat ialah pelbagai masalah sosial muncul. Antaranya ialah keganasan rumah tangga, pembunuhan, jenayah sosial dan sebagainya. Persoalannya, mengapakah perkara ini berlaku? Kedua, mengapakah golongan Muslim juga berdepan dengan masalah ini? Bahkan dalam kalangan mereka yang komited dalam melakukan ibadah seperti solat, puasa dan sebagainya. Sedangkan faktor agama merupakan faktor terkuat dalam mengisi jiwa dan membahagiakan manusia. Sesungguhnya Nabi Muhammad SAW telah mengajar kita mengenai 3 komponen dasar agama, iaitu iman, Islam dan ihsan berdasarkan hadis riwayat Imam Bukhari, yang mana aspek iman telah diulas dalam ilmu akidah, iaitu yang berkaitan dengan asas tauhid. Aspek Islam telah diulas dalam ilmu syariat, iaitu yang berkaitan dengan peraturan ibadah dan hukum hakam, serta aspek ihsan telah diulas dalam ilmu tasawuf, iaitu yang berkaitan dengan akhlak, kerohanian atau penyucian jiwa. Namun amalan keagamaan sering terfokus kepada aspek syariat dan ibadah serta mengabaikan amalan kerohanian. Pengabaian aspek tasawuf
menyebabkan jiwa atau rohani manusia kosong dan membuka ruang kepada risiko ketidaksejahteraan mental. Justeru gabungan kesepaduan antara tauhid, ibadah dan tasawuf merupakan perkara yang amat penting dalam membentuk Muslim sejati dan holistik. Oleh yang demikian, kajian ini dilakukan bagi menghasilkan satu model kesejahteraan mental berlandaskan tasawuf. Semoga kajian ini dapat memberi penyelesaian insya-Allah dalam mengurangkan dan seterusnya membenteras gejala sosial insya-Allah di melanda di negara kita khususnya serta di dunia amnya. Sekian, terima kasih. Saya nak cuba saya nak cuba juga kalau boleh kot dia keluar kat sini Kenapa pula tiba-tiba tak boleh, biasa boleh pula ada. Itulah, sekian, terima kasih. Window. Tak boleh pula.
Tak boleh ulang balik semula objektif.
Apa dia, Prof?
Ulang semula objektif.
Ulang semula objektif?
Objektif kajian.
Objektif kajian adalah untuk mengkaji berkenaan dengan penulisan-penulisan dan idea-idea utama yang dibincangkan oleh tokoh-tokoh tasawuf mengenai kesejahteraan mental, dan yang kedua nak mengkaji kesesuaian dan kepentingan nilai tasawuf daripada pemikiran tokoh sufi ini dalam membina kesejahteraan mental, serta seterusnya yang ketiga nak membangunkan model kesejahteraan mental berlandaskan tasawuf inilah. Tasawuf Sunni ni.
Terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
Dr. Ali boleh komen dulu.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Prof. Saya tanya Ustazah Rohaya. Cuma saya nak mohon Ustazah clarify, biasa kita nak buat model, kita kena ada kena ada sumber untuk create model tu. Macam kalau kajian kualitatif ni mungkin sumber model tu daripada wawancara, daripada temu bual expert dan sebagainya. So bagaimana Ustazah nak dapatkan bahan-bahan ataupun untuk jadi ke model tu? Sebab kalau tengok pada objektif tu hanya mengkaji penulisan. So adakah model itu berdasarkan kepada penulisan sahaja atau bagaimana Ustazah?
Okey, InsyaAllah kalau cadangannya dalam kajian ini iaitu metodologi kajiannya adalah analisis dokumen berdasarkan teks-teks tasawuf Sunni ini, yang mana contohnya daripada Abu Talib Al-Maki, Said Awad, Al-Ghazali, Imam Haris Masibi dan sebagainya lah insya-Allah dalam teks-teks tasawuf tu. Dan juga nanti dia akan dirangka model itu berdasarkan kepada perangkaan dalam iman, Islam dan ihsan, dan seterusnya nanti akan dibawa kepada insya-Allah kepada 10 atau mungkin 10 experts macam itulah. Kalau ikutkan dalam ni 10 experts untuk akan melihat dia punya model kesepaduan antara tiga aspek tadi tu. Akan disahkan oleh pakar lah, lebih kurang 10 tu insya-Allah. Tak tahu kalau dapat macam tu lah. Kalau ikut perbincangan 10 lah. Begitu. Bagaimana Dr. Ali?
Ya, nampaknya kalau kajian kualitatif untuk hasilkan model ni kita boleh dapat daripada macam tadilah Ustazah gabungkan buat triangulasi antara expert dengan penulisan-penulisan tu. Saya nampak kat situ mungkin boleh hasilkan model jugalah.
InsyaAllah.
Terima kasih.
InsyaAllah. Amin. InsyaAllah.
Terima kasih kepada pembentang kita yang kedua iaitu Puan Rohaya Sulaiman daripada ACIS. Seterusnya saya ingin menjemput pembentang kita untuk sesi yang ketiga. Okay, saya persilakan dulu panel penilai untuk sesi ini, iaitu Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad, Prof. Madya Dr. Muhammad Halim Kadri, Dr. Faridah Najuna Misman dan Dr. Akmal Aini Osman. Saya persilakan peserta yang ketiga, Puan Jannah Munirah Muhammad Noor daripada FPP, dan topik yang akan beliau kongsikan adalah Supply Chain Risk Management, Physical Risk Transfer Instrument Model Among the Small Enterprises. Dipersilakan.
Mic.
Puan Jannah, on mic.
Mic.
Puan Jannah, mohon on mic dulu.
Alright, okay. Assalamualaikum. Minta maaf ya. Okay, nampak ke slide yang saya sharekan?
Nampak.
Okay, terima kasih. Boleh mulakan para panel sekalian, boleh saya izinkan saya untuk perbentangkan? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Just imagine you are the small enterprise owner product creepy ubi. This product with the fresh and better taste. However, life there is not always easy as ABC. The small enterprise face a lot of supply chain risk. Suddenly, your supplier cannot afford supply the raw materials to you because natural disruptions under the physical risk. And now we face with the pandemic COVID-19. This natural hazard can greatly damage, impact people, business, resources, and can even push them into the poverty trap. But it doesn't have to be like this. As the frequency and intensity of the supply chain risk management continue to increase, more and more experience is have made on how increase resilience to this event with the hard risk mitigation and other risk transfer instruments. This research idea is to come out the model for the small enterprise to sustain their business and focus on reducing physical risk. There are 5-step instruments and how integrate each other. The first step, look at the risk prevention. Second, addressing the physical risk. Third, preparing the risk mitigation for responding. And 5, recovering. This replication theory from the disaster risk management approach that integrates risk transfer solutions. However, this theory never had implemented to the small enterprise initiative before. This is how I start my research journey and create a new model. First, prevention. First thing that should be done to help prevent serious damage in risk analysis, which identify the hazard in specific area and how expose the people business. This analysis will reveal what can be done to prevent damage and fit into the risk transfer instrument and early warning system to the next phases. Second, addressing physical risk. In small enterprise of the Keripik Ubi and their community do not manage and sustain in the market, all the stakeholders in the supply chain should be aware where the risk and can also protect their chain with pre-disaster financing using contingency plan for the physical facilities. Third solution, mitigation instrument risk. This is preparing the physical risk solutions. This part is to rescue an emergency service, establish early warning system, and come up with the contingency plan to ensure that everyone knows what to do. 4, responding with the risk. When the physical risk hits on the enterprise, how to respond means it is essential to respond quickly to avoid further loss of the human life and material damage caused of the physical risk. 5th, recovering risk solutions. Now, the owner has responded to the first impact of this disaster in the physical risk, can start to recovery process. The good news in this with the right assistance done by examining the affected area and repairing in smart way to prevent this damage from happening again. All these stem and link to each other and most effective where the country and their governments, communities, individuals, small enterprise work together whenever transfer solution risk will be more resilient and can make sure that the figures risk never turn high impact disasters to the world. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Manjana, so quite interesting in terms of the presentation, but yet I think we are talking about the small SMEs, the small enterprise, and you have a different characteristic between one industry to in another industry. Probably you can specify, let's say, modeling risk instrument model among the kind of industry, small scale enterprise for certain industry. Okay, number two, is this model is an adoption, or are you going to innovate a new model, or just for you to, cascade it from the medium scale or one established model for the large scale enterprise or medium scale enterprise to small scale enterprise? Okay, you are going to innovate, or are you going to come up with a new
Right
model?
now, I would like to, in the first idea, I would like to innovate the idea, because in Malaysia, for the small enterprise, okay, for the small enterprise, they have their own disaster risk theory. However, for the physical risk itself, physical risk means that they have delays, disruptions, inventory capacity and procurement in the physical itself. This theory we can implement. However, in Malaysia, the main problem among the small enterprise, they did not reveal the new model for the maksudnya dalam supply chain ni untuk small enterprise, dia tidak ada satu model yang membantu mereka menganalisa risiko dengan lebih cepat. Dan terutama during the pandemic COVID-19, the most affected industries adalah small enterprise, because again they not prepared themselves to face with these big outbreaks, especially pandemic COVID-19. That's what I would like to explore in this study.
Okay, I could imagine that probably in your study you're going to develop a model, and yet you're going to have the feedback from the expert whether the model is applicable, and probably you can try to probably to have a what will be the response of the market about the model? Probably you can test the model. I don't know. That is probably kind of innovation juga lah. So the risk mitigation is very big topic lah. So you talk about risk mitigation is, I guess, one of the analysis you have to have the methodology, have to have all the model been defined and have the expert advice on that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Noraiza. Thank you so much.
Jannah,
Yes, Dr. Farida.
thank you for your presentation, very interesting presentation and topics. I just want to know, would you elaborate more? You intend to do which type of analysis? Are you doing a qualitative or a quantitative analysis in your studies?
I will focus on the quantitative, Dr. Farida. Yes. Quantitative.
Okay.
Okay, quantitative among the small enterprise.
So because you said you want to develop models, right?
Yes.
So would you elaborate more how what is your intention by doing quantitative studies, and how would you develop the model?
Sorry, I can't get your idea. Sorry.
Because you mentioned you want to do a quantitative study, means that you will distribute a survey, right?
Correctly. Yeah.
So from that you will develop your model based on the findings from the small enterprise owner.
Yeah. I think actually this study, my concept is The first thing first, I have find out this one model implement in the Pakistan and the India regarding about the disaster risk. Okay, and I adapt this model to implement in Malaysia, because in Malaysia we don't have we have a disaster risk management model. However, for focus on the physical risk itself, physical risk in the supply chain, you know that in the supply chain they have a lot of risk. Okay, and that they have physical risk, financial risk, informational risk, and relational risk. However, I will focus on a small part in the physical risk. So to get things now regarding about the physical risk, first thing first, I would like to find out first regarding about the instrument. What is the main instrument in the physical risk can adapt in the among the small enterprise in Malaysia. So with that, of course, I will do a pilot test using a qualitative first, and then after tested by expertise and finding from the this pilot SME, and I will go further for the quantitative, doctor.
So means
That's
that
my first idea.
So from your explanation, I understand. So you're not doing purely quantitative. So it means that a mixed method analysis. So you mentioned a qualitative.
Yeah. Correct. Mixed method. Okay. Mixed method. Yes. Yes, Dr. Farida. Something like that. My mom. This is just I threw the idea first because it's not easy whether we go through the methodology, because we need to have a very good basic punya understanding regarding about our research. So thank you for your idea. Thank you so much.
Terima kasih Puan Jana Munirah Muhammad Noor di atas perkongsian pembentangan sebentar tadi. Sukacita ingin saya ingatkan para peserta boleh remain in this Google Meet, boleh lihat presentation peserta-peserta lain. Begitu juga dengan para panel. Tanpa membuang masa, kita ingin teruskan kepada sesi yang keempat. Puan Aisyah Suhaimi daripada Fakulti Pengurusan Perniagaan dengan tajuknya Supply Chain Management in Food Industry, The Effect of Food Safety Indicators on Customer Satisfaction. Dipersilakan.
Terima kasih. Jadi saya sharekan slide. Boleh nampak ya slide?
Okey, boleh. Puan Aisyah boleh teruskan.
Food consumption, are we safe? Well, I want you to imagine our normal daily routine life. Waking up in the morning, go to work, sending your children to school, holiday time, or you wanted to go out to spend some time for your family and friends. How many of us can survive without eating food? Oh, that question is too general. So specifically, how many of us can survive without eating processed food? You might say, wait, I'm not eating fast food, only healthy food. I cook for myself, or my wife cook for me, or anything. But wait, let's stop there. Look again. Do you drink milk? Where does the milk come from? Are you eating cheese? That's from milk, right? What about our staple food? Rice, noodle, or even bread? Is it actually being processed? The answer is yes. We can deny that. Safety issues has been occurring around the world, in Europe, UK, China, and also in Malaysia. Melamine contamination in milk, bleaching agent in flour, or rice, misuse of antibiotic, hormone and steroid for farm animals, pesticides in food and food additives. Do you know, in Malaysia, recently, Health Ministry has flagged 21 food products comprising of 16 different brands that contain scheduled poison. And have you ever experienced eating some food and then couples hours later, you feel uneasy in your tummy? That might be the minor effect of food poisoning. As I began to explore the safety issues, I began to realize that it's not easy to ensure safe food to fulfill customer satisfaction. Food supply chain involve interrelated activities and too many actors. So, food safety indicators that connect all actors is one of the way to address food safety issues. The objective of this study is to explore food safety gap between consumer expectation and perception to determine the effect of supply chain practices on food safety assurance, and also to determine the relationship between supply chain practices on supply chain performance. Exploring food safety gap that connect various actors along the supply chain, especially food safety authority, manufacturer, and also consumer. This will involve safety assurance, commitment, regulation, customer expectation as a measure to understand the actual perceived of customer satisfaction, and performance analysis to identify the strength and gap of each indicators. This should lead to fulfilling food safety gap that allow us to connect different actors in food supply chain that eventually lead to customer satisfaction. Thank you. That's all.
Dibuka untuk sesi soal jawab oleh panel.
Alright, shall I start first? Firstly, Aisha, it's a very interesting presentation. I like your presentation, though it sounds biased because you're my student. May I have some idea what approach that you're going to use in order for you to come up with the connection between the variables or perhaps the dimension that you're going to study in this? I know that your focus is on customer satisfaction, but then how are you going to connect this with those players that you have in the supply chain?
That one is for the first my objective, which is to explore the safety gap between consumer expectation and also the perception, which will involve interview with different food supply chain actor, including the government, the food safety authority, the manufacturer part, and also for the customer. And then from that we do the performance analysis to see the expectation, maybe the mutual point of expectation. And then after that, I think that's it for I'm conducting that performance analysis to see the interrelated between these four factors, which is safety assurance, commitment, regulation, and also customer expectation. Yeah.
Is there any theory that you have discovered from your reading?
This one, I have several theory, but for this one, for supply chain, for this one, there will be stakeholder theory, which involve different actors. And then for the supply chain, that we might use the so I forgot about for supply chain. We have a specific theory to like a relational view theory to see the relation, to see the effect of relation between those supply chain practice and also supply chain performance.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I may add a little bit on part of the study. You're going to do study between the supplier or the middleman or something like this. I think it's quite difficult, not that easy for this kind of study. Probably you just focus on among the customer with regard all the 4 matters that you want to evaluate. And of course, you can combine your study between the halal. For example, you have solved the first part of the problem, taking halal certified products. So it's achievable as you're ambitious. You're very ambitious to have the supplier, the manufacturer, where in reality, I think hardly for them to respond. But for the customer, it's quite possible for you to get the data later on. Okay, well, why not you narrow down to the customer lah. After all, the satisfaction is more to the customer, not to the supplier lah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Any suggestion? Any other suggestion?
Terima kasih Puan Aisyah Suhaimi. Terima kasih juga diucapkan kepada Dr. Faridah Najuna Misman dan juga Dr. Akmal Aini Osman. Kita teruskan dengan sesi yang kelima. Sebelum itu saya ingin mempersilakan panel penilai bagi sesi ini iaitu Prof. Madya Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rafizan Muhammad Daud serta Dr. Samsul On. Bagi sesi yang kelima, saya persilakan Zulaika Atira Alexman daripada Fakulti Sains Gunaan dengan tajuk yang saya akan silakan beliau untuk sebutkan sendiri. Dipersilakan.
Boleh nampakkan slide saya?
Okey, boleh nampak. Boleh teruskan.
Can you imagine our world are running out of fossil fuels and we cannot start our vehicle due to the empty fuel tank? Terrible situation, is it? Nowadays, researchers from all over the world have done many studies to tackle this issue, and they found that one of the solutions is by converting biomass to fuels that is known as biofuels. What is biofuel? Biofuel is a renewable energy source made from organic matter or waste that can play a valuable role in reducing carbon dioxide emissions and decreasing the global warming. Plant is one of the biomass examples which comprise of cellulose, hemicellulose and lignin. In my research, I use sorbitol, a sugar alcohol which can be produced from cellulose and it also can be found in fruits and vegetables. But to make this process successful, the catalyst with high activity and product selectivity need to be developed. The catalyst acts as a helping hand in one chemical reaction. Let me explain in the simplest way. Let's say a car driver attempting to drive over a steep and a very high hill. It will need a high energy, right? Then we compare with a driver that uses a tunnel to avoid the high hill and reach the destination. We can see that the energy barrier is avoided when using the tunnel. And in this version, the same way it related as the presence of catalyst helps to speed up the conversion of sorbitol into biofuel by lowering the activation energy. There are two types of catalysts which are homogeneous and heterogeneous catalysts. Homogeneous catalyst means all the reactants exist in the same phase, while heterogeneous catalysts involve the different phase of reactant. I am working on the heterogeneous catalyst since my reaction involves solid phase catalyst which is chromium oxide silica and hydrogen gas. A good catalyst will create high number of active sites so that the reactant can bind on it and the catalyst helping the reactant to react and forming the product which is biofuel. Therefore, it can help in minimizing the dwindling fossil fuel resources. Thank you.
Dipersilakan panel penilai untuk sesi soal jawab.
Saya mulakan dulu.
Assalamualaikum Zulaikha. Dr. Syamsul, okey, silakan.
Okey, proceed Doktor.
Okay. I have one quick question for you. Within Malaysian setting, why do you think your project is important?
Because the catalyst used before this having catalyst yang sebelum ni di prepare tu dia macam tak stable sangat untuk hasilkan biofuel dalam percentage yang banyak. So saya macam nak develop a catalyst yang boleh menghasilkan produk tu lebih banyak.
Okay. Okay, I mean, technically we understand that if you employ a catalyst, then it lowers the energy barriers, your reaction become faster, the yield is higher, selectivity is higher. Cuma if I can rephrase my, you are looking for biofuels production, kan? My question very simple saja. Now, conventional oil is very cheap. Minyak murah sekarang, kan? So how does this work remain relevant and important?
Sebab kalau daripada work ni we use biomass source, biomass ke abundant kan, so dia macam daripada biomass tu sendiri dia boleh reducekan global warming sebab dia punya carbon emission tu rendah, so compared to fossil fuels yang ada sekarang ni.
Okay.
Saya ada satu soalan untuk Zulaikha. So why you choose sorbitol? So we have many type of sugar, and why also you choose this catalyst rather than we have many catalysts that will work with this reaction.
Sorbitol tu sebab kalau kita tengok research dia memang dia punya keupayaan untuk menghasilkan biofuel lagi tinggi dan nak compare dengan ada cellulose product. Dan catalyst ni catalyst baru, cumanya yang orang selalu guna tu silika support tu orang selalu guna, cuma chromium oxide silika tu yang baru nak digunakan. Dan silika tu pun sendiri boleh kalau kita guna silika sahaja boleh juga, cumanya dia punya percentage yang terhasil tu rendah kalau nak compare dengan chromium oxide silika sebab dia ada dua metal.
Okay, one more question. This hydrogenolysis of sorbitol, what's the product?
Produk dia ethylene glycol dengan propylene glycol.
Okay, my idea maybe you can suggest you can do a hydrogenation of the sorbitol to produce an alkanes. Alkane also is a compound that we use in fuel. That's my suggestion. Thank you, Zulaikha.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Zulaikha Atira Al-Azman daripada Fakulti Sains Gunaan, dan saya juga ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada panel kita sebentar tadi, Profesor Madya Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rafizan Muhammad Daud dan Dr. Samsul On. Saya ingin memberikan sedikit peringatan mesra kepada panel penilai. Boleh isikan borang penilaian, link seperti yang kita telah sertakan pada ruangan chat. Kita akan teruskan dengan sesi yang ke-6. Saya ingin mempersilakan panel penilai untuk sesi ini, Profesor Madya Dr. Raja Azrin Raja Ahmad serta Dr. Noraizah Abu Bakar. Peserta kita Encik Hod Amin daripada Fakulti Perakaunan dengan tajuk beliau Sustainability Reporting and Firm Value Evidence from Malaysia Listed Companies. Dipersilakan.
Sekejap saya tengah nak cari file ya. Sekejap ya. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello.
Okey, boleh teruskan Encik Hud?
Nampak slide
Slide boleh nampak, suara pun jelas.
Okay, terima kasih. Sustainability reporting and firm value evidence from Malaysia listed company. Thereafter is called SR, sustainability reporting. Background, strategic and operational factors to include environmental and social considerations. Sustainability reporting helps boost corporate transparency, strengthen risk management, promote stakeholder engagement, and improve communication with stakeholder. Sustainability Reporting Guide 2017 in the Malaysian context, reporting stability became a listing requirement in 2006 by Bursa Malaysia. Most companies were reporting only what they wanted to disclose, and they were inclined to disclose more on community and social aspect and majority in the narrative form. Problem statement is relatively new topic in Asia, and sustainability and link to the firm value. Objective of the research refer to number 4, to identify relationship between firms' sustainability reporting and market value using Pearson correlation coefficients. To discuss the reviews and hypotheses for existing literature on the relationship between sustainability reporting and firm market value. To propose the new model on market value for 4 months. To identify the significant of independent variable which contribute to the sustainability of the company. Number 5, limitation of study, companies reporting only what they wanted. Number 6, significance of study, better awareness, acceptance and adoption of sustainability reporting. Literature review, I choose the most I like. Publishing is a sustainability report is found to have positive effect on the firm's market value, which implies that investors attach a positive value of such a report, and thus reflecting the anticipation of future value cash flow by better loads, Colmott and Sherrod 2012. Methodology, the number of companies listed of Bursa Malaysia is 977, and based on Krigi and Morgan table, the total size in this research is approximately is 278. Experience significant to new knowledge, a better understanding on the measurement and implication of sustainability reporting, growing on practice tools that have become global standards such as the GRI. The result will encourage better awareness, acceptance and adoptions of sustainability amongst companies, especially with the confidence that there are benefit in terms of market value. Methodology employs the Olsen 1995, Casio and Manual 2017 model. Based on the MV is equal to intercept plus BV plus SR. We need another plus such as everything and more. So we use the model as per MV is equal to set plus alpha plus BV plus EN alpha 2 alpha 3 and so on. So I want to highlight the research. We use weightage least sequence WLS regressions with the weights equal to the inverse of the square of stock market value in order to resolve the scale effect. And last, I planned of this research 3 years maximum. Right. Thank you. Any question?
Dipersilakan para panel penilai untuk sesi soal jawab.
Okay, thank you Encik Hud. I'm Raja Ezrin. Okay, my question is with regard to your one of your research objective just now. That is the to provide a new model on market value, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I'm just wondering, your studying is more focusing more on the sustainability reporting, or you focusing more on the market value? Because I think that your study will focus more on the sustainability reporting.
Oh, refer to my what you call slide is sustainability reporting and firm value. That's why I would relate the sustainability reporting and also for the firm value. For your question about the new model is based on our level PhD level to find out the new formula. Actually, that's I need to be a research of this formula being of MV is equal to BV and SR. Then I also want to look the sustainability reporting links to the firm value. Then the firm value is pictures by market value and other of ratio or other parameter. All right.
Okay, my suggestion is that this study
Oh,
will
okay.
be too broad because it will
Okay.
be too broad because you are looking at sustainability, and then in sustainability we have three areas in the three P's: the people, planet, and
Okay.
planet, and profit. So if you are looking at sustainability, that means you are looking the whole spectrum of these three.
Alright.
For a PhD level, I would suggest that you just focusing on one area, and then further you are looking at the firm value. So firm value, if you're looking at the firm value, there are two main measures of firm value. One is the book value, the other one is market value. So my suggestion is that be more narrow in your research.
So narrow in terms of the sustainability reporting, and can I link to the firm value or
Yes, you can link to the firm value, but be more specific. That means you are looking at market value, for example, just focusing on the market value. If you're focusing on the book value, then just focus on the book value. And the sustainability is already too broad. If you are using the GRI guideline, then maybe you can narrow down or take the niche area. For example, in my PhD, out of the sustainability, I've just take the social area. Out of that social, I just look at corporate philanthropy. So the niche area in your study.
Okay, thanks for your suggestion. I will pick up and I will make the change my proposal.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hud, saya Raizat Waka. Okay. It's a good presentation whereby by looking at your slides. Okay. I just wonder a little bit when you look from the aspect, let's say you're saying that background sustainability reporting helps boost corporate transparency. So it means that you are aiming for something when you have this. I think you will test this model, like a model that you're going to produce later on throughout this research. It's just that when we look at number 6, significance of the study, it seems like at the end of the day, what you are trying to look at is better awareness, acceptance, and adoption of that sustainability report. Whereby when you look at the background as if you want to achieve something by having this sustainability reporting, it can help something. But at the end, the significance of your study is just, you said that it's just better awareness and the company should accept this sustainability report. Okay. So can you explain about this? I'm a little bit like confused about this.
Because I am so I just want to share about the significance of the study because of some of the reader or some of the users are not very known of the sustainability report. That's why we need to give more awareness and acceptance. And some of the purchaser, for example, companies want to buy a company, then they are not very confident or not to rely to the sustainability reports. That's why in this research, I will pictures or what show the result of the good of the sustainability reports. And I said that the company just reporting only what they wanted. That's why we have to call to correct of these assumptions. So basically, background and significance of the study, I think, is merely slightly might be the same what meanings, but according to the format I just follow, then it's might be little bit
May I
different.
add to that as well? So Dr. Noraiza, I think this study looks into the relationship between sustainability reporting and firm value. So we means the study maybe the aspect if there will to be any positive result of reporting this to the firm value, then more companies will be reporting on their sustainability, because currently I think in Malaysia it is not as intensive in terms of the standalone sustainability report compared to the developed nations. So thank you.
Okay, based on what Dr. Rajat Azrin mentioned, I think maybe I just to make it even clear, maybe you can reword somewhere somehow in terms of your topic to make it even clearer. So we can directly, by looking from at your topic, we can see that clearer what you are looking after. So
Yeah.
that's just my humble opinion, because looking at your slides and your idea, but your idea is a good from the all aspect that you wants to do it. Just that maybe for the first time, like me, I ignore that I didn't understand anything. So I just looking from your slide and based on your explanation and based on the title. So that's why I'm a little bit confused about that. So I think you can reword your title somewhere somehow. That's only my suggestion. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. I understand your suggestion. Right, thanks.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada pembentang yang ke-6, Encik Hud Amin daripada Fakulti Perakaunan. Saya juga ingin mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada panel kita sebentar tadi, Profesor Madya, Dr. Raja Azrun, Raja Ahmad serta Dr. Noraiza Abu Bakar. Sekali lagi peringatan mesra dijemput untuk panel penilai kita mengisi borang penilaian. Kami telah kongsikan link borang penilaian dan juga borang kehadiran di ruangan chat. Kami juga ingin mengalu-alukan semua peserta dan panel untuk terus berada di sini kerana pada akhir program sebentar nanti kita akan pilih 3 pembentang terbaik untuk diberikan hadiah penghargaan. Okay, sekarang kita akan teruskan dengan sesi pembentangan yang ke-7. Saya ingin mempersilakan panel penilai Dr. Aminah Bibi, Satanifi, Dr. Noraizah Abu Bakar serta Dr. Muhammad Rifai Muhammad Ali. Peserta kita yang ke-7, Ain Akila Azamuddin daripada Fakulti Sains Komputer dan Matematik. Tajuk pembentangan beliau, Hybrid Conjugate Gradient Method in Solving Unconstrained Optimization. Dipersilakan.
Terima kasih. Encik Hood boleh stop presenting because I want to present my slides. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, first of all. Okay, have it ever occurred to you how farmers and ranchers deal with their goods? I mean, how they even manage to make such low-cost goods, but they are still staying up for the quality standards? I mean, we will not be having a happy faces if one day we walk to the veggie aisle and we see that they sell kangkong for like 20 ringgits per bunch. Even I can't imagine that. I mean, so there are a few variables that farmers have to consider to make the cost as low as possible. They have to consider about the fertilizers, the seeds, the manpower, and even their water management. All of this should be taken into account, whereby using optimization, this could help them from losing profits, but still manage to sell a low-cost kangkong. How, you may ask? Well, let me take you to a brief concept of what optimization is. According to Merriam-Webster, optimization is an act, a process, or methodology of making something as effective as possible. And specifically talking, the mathematical procedures involved in it is in finding the minimum of the function in this case. Well, as you can see, based on those variables such as seats, manpowers, and all that, a function will be made. Then we will find the minimum of the function so that they can manage in minimizing the cost of the produce, but still maintaining the quality of their goods. So this is an example function, but in real life, we will have to deal with a lot of variables. Okay, in my research, I will try to develop a new hybrid conjugate gradient method where ARM conjugate gradient method will be fused into another conjugate gradient method to solve unconstrained optimization problem. Well, you might be wondering what is this conjugate gradient method is and what is this unconstrained optimization is. Well, conjugate gradient method is one of the methods to find optimal function. And it can be any real function. For example, the farmer's case just now. And unconstrained optimization just means that the function is not bounded by any variables, and it can also means that the variable could be any value. So we could see how the method really works in solving such problems. So in my research, I will be providing a method that could solve unconstrained optimization problem that will be much faster in terms of iterations and calculation times compared to ARM. And as ARM methods sometimes produce negative value, I will try to overcome it by fusing it with another method that will produce a positive value. Thank you.
Dibuka kepada panel penilai untuk sesi soal jawab.
Okay, Assalamualaikum Ain. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Doctor.
Okay, Shazana also, how are you?
Also very fine, thank you, Doctor.
Okay, lama tak dengar. Okay, Ain Akila, I got one question actually. Which is more important, the minimum or the maximum?
The minimum of the function.
Minimum? Minimum?
Yes.
So is there any cases that we are dealing with maximum?
Maximum, for example, if we are trying to maximize the profit, so we try to find the maximum of the function.
Maximum. So both is important actually, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And then second question is, which is more important, constrained or unconstrained?
For me, it's unconstrained because you can see how it really works, and it could also be applied for constraint because from unconstrained, we could see it from like generally because the variable, we could put any variable in it.
When we are talking about the farmers actually, is it constrained or unconstrained?
For the farmers, it's constrained.
Okay. So back to any other panel.
Assalamualaikum Ain.
Waalaikumsalam, Doctor.
Ain, well done. Congratulations. You know, when I read your topic just now, hybrid, conjugate, gradient method, I was thinking, what on earth is this? Because this is not my area at all. Dr. Muhammad Riwai is the best person, I guess. But you know, you made it very simple to understand, especially when you started by giving the example of kangkung for 20 ringgit per one pack, you know. So I got the idea this is an experiment, or this could be something related to how farmers could reduce their cost to increase their production probably. This is not my area at all. I'm a language person, yeah. But from your presentation, I would say I congratulate you for bringing this to a lay person's understanding. But I would just, this is not my area, but I would like to know what is the research design you are adopting here? Probably it's not the same as what we are doing in the language. So I just want to know. That's my question.
The research design or the method, because I'm doing a research in mathematics. Yes.
So what's your Dr. Rifai, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Yeah. So is
Okay,
there any in mathematics, is there any, I would say it would be the same. Is there any specific research design that you have adopted or theory behind the research that you have adopted?
Oh, the theory, basically I'm just going to use ARM CG method, then I'm gonna fuse it with another method. So the research is just about fusing these two methods and make it more efficient in terms of the iterations and the calculations.
Okay, I think Dr. Muhammad
Okay,
Rifai
okay.
will understand better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada pembentang yang ketujuh, Ain Akila Azamuddin. Terima kasih juga saya ucapkan kepada panel kita, Dr. Muhammad Rifai Muhammad Ali. Di sini saya ingin memohon maaf di atas kesilapan saya sebentar tadi. Saya lupa untuk mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad serta Profesor Madya Dr. Muhammad Halim Kadri sebagai panel penilai untuk sesi sebentar tadi. Kita teruskan dengan sesi yang ke-8. Saya ingin menjemput panel penilai untuk sesi ini, Profesor Madya Dr. Noriah Ismail dan Dr. Normah Ismail. Peserta yang ke-8, Nurul Hijah Jasman daripada Akademi Pengajian Bahasa dengan tajuk pembentangan Game Changer, Speeding Up Language Acquisition. Dipersilakan.
Alright, can you see my slide?
Yes, very clear. You may proceed.
Alright, imagine you are a migrant in an English-speaking country who can barely speak a word of English yet. But every day out in the street, you hear people ask you, how is it going? You might reply with yes or no. After a short while, however, you would notice by listening to the way other people answer the same question that it has the same meaning with, how are you? Now, what if I told you that expressions like this could simply roll off your tongue the way it would be in your first language? Previously, whenever we talk about learning the English language, studying the grammar aspects which in many details is always being emphasized on. But the journey of understanding all the rules of grammar could take forever. Many people ended up getting more confused and can't even tell what is what by the end of the day. So, what if I told you that you could speak a foreign language by bypassing its grammar aspect? Interesting, isn't it? This is where my expertise in analyzing the formulaic language comes in handy. My research focuses on how the multi-word expressions which are stored in our long-term memory could speed up the language production among the second language learners. I remember being in a market when I was little. As the seller wanted to return the change to my father, he said, "Keep the change," with a hand gesture. That was the very first time I heard such phrase. Although I did not understand the meaning, but by looking at the situation and analyzing the context, I understood. So, I started using the same phrase whenever I wanted to give the seller whatever change there was as a tip whenever I buy something from stores. See, you don't really have to be a grammar Nazi in order for you to understand and use phrases which are not in your mother tongue in your daily life conversation. Many people say that they want to improve the English language production, that they are in dire need to become better English speakers. Nevertheless, without proper input being added to what they have already known, their language ability is just going to be stagnant, still, static. Furthermore, lack of vocabulary is the number one crime in language learning as it impedes your language production. Hence, multi-word expressions is a solution to the problem of limited vocabulary among the L2 learners. With the method of exposing the learners to formulate language through series of workshops is believed able to answer these questions. Firstly, what impact the expressions has on the L2 learners? Secondly, what are the effects of extracting the multi-word expressions from reading text on learners' awareness of formulaic language? And thirdly, does the aid of online resources affect the learner's acquisition positively? My study will prove that multi-word expressions could enhance and accelerate the English language production by leaps and bounds. This is not rocket science. It is all about focusing on the right thing at the right moment. Thank you.
Okay, dipersilakan panel penilai untuk sesi soal jawab.
Alhamdulillah, Nur Hijah, congratulations. Cannot be biased here, you are my student. But yes, we have just started, so it's fair for me to correct wherever that I needed to correct.
Indeed, Doctor.
Yeah, well done. I think I can understand what you are trying to show. In fact, the slides that you have showed, actually when I saw the slide, I said, okay, what is she going to do with that speeding up and the rocket thing? But then I understood that you are trying to say the language acquisition can be sped up using multi-online resources. Yeah, you talked about online resources here. You are going to give input to the students, right? So how and what are kind of input and how are the online resources being selected and used here?
Okay, I will try to answer the question. Yeah, Dr. Amina, if I'm wrong, please do correct me. So I propose to use a mixed quantitative and qualitative methods, and I am going to use the British National Corpus, in terms of gathering the multi-word expressions or the formulaic language. And also I will use the lexical profiler on Tom Cobb's complete lexical tutor in order for me to gauge the student's vocabulary level. Yeah, because I'm going to do a pre-test first before we conduct the series of workshop, in embedding the idea of multi-word expressions to the students. And also I'm going to adopt questionnaire from Tui T. Big Boy in 2019, which she has conducted quite a similar study with what I intend to do.
Okay, so you meaning you are going to take the corpus from the British corpus list. Are you going to add into the corpus list later on after your study? What is the outcome of your whole research later?
Come again, Doctor?
What is the outcome at the end?
What is the outcome?
Yes. What's the outcome that you expect?
Okay, I'm expecting that probably I could add up to the corpus, to the list of corpus. Maybe I could come out with our very own corpus, so our students could use the corpus to improve their English language proficiency, inshallah.
Inshallah. So that's what I want to hear. Meaning we are going to localize this word to our students, yeah?
Yes,
okay. Thank you. And maybe other panels have questions?
Thank you, Dr. Amina.
Okay.
Okay. Waalaikumsalam, Dr. Norma.
Well done, Ija.
Thank you, Dr. Norma.
Okay. So, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum to everyone present. Okay, Ija, I just have one very short question. Would this be a lesson across the board, meaning from basic learners right up to advanced learners for learning formulaic expressions? Would it be across the board for all students? Thank you.
Okay, I'm intent to do the study among the lower intermediate learners, all right? Because whether we like it or not, in Malaysia, majority of Malaysians, that would be the level of our English language proficiency. Okay, so by using the real participants who have who are in the lower intermediate level English language proficiency, I hope I could help them in improving their English language proficiency in the future.
Okay.
Am I answering your question, Dr. Norma?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course, Dr. Noria.
All right. I just want you to clarify, what do you understand about the difference between language learning and language acquisition?
Okay. Language learning and language acquisition, if I am not mistaken, language learning and language acquisition, there's not much of a difference between these two. Language learning is where we embed the idea to the student. We taught the students so they could learn. Language acquisition is what they could get, whether they realize it or whether they are not realizing it. So they acquire the language in their daily life probably through their experience, when they're using the language. By using the language, this is much more related to the individual experience, I shall say, for language acquisition.
All right. I'll just add to that. Language learning is when students learn explicitly, right, of a language structure, grammar, vocabulary. Whereas language acquisition, it means that usually learners just absorb, whatever input that they get without really thinking explicitly, about the language actual structure. So this is actually how the native speaker, absorb the language, more of acquisition rather than language learning. Okay. All right. So actually, I just want you to clarify what is the theory that you're using for your research.
Well, I'm still in the phase of reading lots of literature review, but at the moment, I am more interested on lexical priming theory, which is developed by Michael Harry in 2003. So in this theory, he insisted, or he mentioned about how the individual experience of language learning could help the kids or could help the learners to improve their English language proficiency.
All right. So you should bear in mind that you always have to differentiate between the two, because later on during the viva, the examiner will ask you to clarify whether you actually test on language learning or language acquisition. So your theoretical framework, you should include the theory on first language acquisition, all right? Because this is basically your research. Okay, I think I don't have much time to, what do you call it?
Okay, sure.
More.
I will take that into consideration. Thank you for your idea, Dr. Noria.
Yes. Later, you can always ask me if you want any help or anything. Okay.
All right. So thank you very much.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Amina. Thank you, Dr. Norma. Thank you, Dr. Noria.
And thank you to Nurul Hijaz Jasmine for your presentation just now. Terima kasih kepada panel kita sebentar tadi, Profesor Madya, Dr. Noria Ismail serta Dr. Norma Ismail. Seterusnya, kita akan pergi pada sesi yang ke-9. Saya ingin mempersilakan panel penilai untuk sesi ini, Dr. Azhani Arsyad. Dan peserta yang ke-9 ialah Nur Akmal Adnan daripada Jabatan Undang-Undang dengan tajuk pembentangan beliau, A Socio-Legal Study on the Implementation of Law with Grant Title Syarikah in Johor based on the National Land Code NLC. Dipersilakan.
Maaf, saya lupa nak unmute. Okay. Boleh nampak ya slide saya?
Okey, boleh. Dipersilakan.
Okay, terima kasih. Imagine yourself enjoying your coffee together with your parents, and suddenly your father said this. I heard there is a piece of land in our kampung to be sold. It is a sharikah land. You might want to go and check for it. The land is so cheap, I tell you. You pause yourself, thinking. So my question for you now, would you consider buying that piece of land? About the price, don't you think it's too good to be true? And most importantly, have you thought that what is the legal consequences that might arise from buying and dealing with that such of land? I myself have so many questions when I first heard the term of sharikah land. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, I bid to all. And my research will be on the implementation of law for land with grand title, sharikah in Johor, based on the National Land Code. So the land of co-proprietorship, or also known as tanah pemilikan bersama, is a piece of land jointly owned by several owners. The term sharikah land is normally familiar to be used in rural areas such as kampung. In my research, I seek to identify and analyze what it means by sharikah land, since the term is nowhere to be found in our state yet. In Singapore, there has a similar concept of land, which is known as joint tenancy, and this is recognized under their law. Now, I would like to draw your attention to the images on the slides. This is an advertisement from website of muda.my. So from this, it is clearly mentioned that the potential buyer cannot apply for loan if they intend to purchase the land. They must pay in cash instead. So I wonder what's the reason behind this? Why the bank refused to provide the loan service for dealing of such land? Since there are many names on the same land title, what happened if one of the owner died? Also, during the process of buying and selling of this kind of land, is the name of the deceased is still on the grant title. Hence, I am confident that by cooperating with this agency, particularly the land office, we will get the answer. In my research, I will employ qualitative methods of research, which include content analysis and also field study. The focus area will be on the land in Johor. It is expected that the result of the research would have an impact to protect the rights and interests of the entitled owners of the land. Besides, it will also establish the meaning of term sharikah land and its application based on our law. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Panel penilai dibuka untuk sesi soal jawab.
Okay, Nur Akmal Adnan.
Yes, saya.
Tahniah ya for the presentation. Cuma saya nak buat clarification. Yang sekarang ni you mention about the sharikah land. You are looking at the co-ownership, is it? So ada ataupun dia more on
proprietorship. Yes.
Sebab you mention dalam tu joint tenancy and also you mention about co-proprietorship. Okay. So I just would like to know, because when you mention about a tenancy, joint tenancy, okay, because as you mentioned earlier, joint tenancy, Malaysian law does not adopt this joint tenancy with that's a law on survivorship. Okay, so it means that I'm talking about the administration of the estate itself upon the death of the co-owner. So the issue is that it will not be transferred to the to the surviving owner, isn't it? So are you looking now? I would like to know clarifications. Are you looking on because under our National Land Code, we have two terms, this concept of tenancy in common and also joint tenancy. Malaysian law does not adopt this joint tenancy with the law on survivorship. Okay.
Yes.
You just mentioned earlier in the presentation that whereby in Singapore they adopt the concept of joint tenancy as one of the way or one of the instruments to distribute or administer the estate. Okay, so actually you would like to, I just want to know, you're looking at the administration of the estate itself or the concept of tenancy as a whole, a joint tenancy as a, atau co-proprietorship as a whole? I tak faham kat situ.
Okay.
Sebab dia tajuk ya, just to add more. On the topic of, you mentioned about social legal study, because if I look at the concept of the syarikah, and if you were to look at in the perspective of this national land code, to apply the national land code, I would say that there is no actually a specific, I mean the law does not recognize that joint tenancy in Malaysia. So by having this social legal study, macam benda tu dah something recognized atau dah enforced dekat Malaysia. Yeah, I think that it would be best for you to go on looking at the implementations of the syarikah land. If you want to look in the scope of administration of estate, then you put it with a legal analysis. So means that you analyze the law, the applicable law, the existing framework in Malaysia. Lepas tu boleh at the same time you can also look at the other model or the comparative study by looking at the implementation in Singapore. And then you can suggest some sort of a suggestion, a proposal whether to adopt such a law or to have something, some sort of agreement between the co-proprietor or something, I don't know. Yeah. So nampak scope tu lebih nampak. Sebab bila kata social legal study is as though that benda tu dah recognized, adopt by our Malaysian law. Tetapi the fact is that you don't recognize joint tenancy if you're looking in this perspective of administration of estate lah. Yeah, something to deal with the administration of this syarikah land, in terms of in the scope of administration. So you nak tengok yang mana sebenarnya?
Right. Thank you, Dr. Tani. So actually my intention is the same as what you have described. I think maybe the problem will be on the topic, the social legal study should be legal analysis. But roughly the idea is the same. Okay. Like in section 434 in the National Land Code, okay, it's specifically for co-proprietorship kind of land, of the administration of co-proprietorship land. So it is true, okay, in Malaysian law, we don't have a specific division. Like in Singapore itself, like Doctor mentioned just now, they specifically mention, there is actually joint tenancy, there is actually common tenancy.
Tenancy in common.
Sorry. So they're specific, so it's easier. And plus the concept of joint tenancy is legal in Singapore. Okay, meanwhile in Malaysia, we did not recognize it somehow based on my reading as so far, because we claim that there will be some problem in terms of faraid system if we're talking about inheritance on that particular issues. That will be different stories. But in my research, I'll be focusing on administration on the syarikah land, because my point of doing the research is that when looking at the like online advertisement, for example, like my slide previously, they actually the seller actually advertised and mentioned clearly that the type of land is syarikah with grand title syarikah. So that made me thinking, because I have no idea what is the meaning of syarikah land itself. So I do readings, but I couldn't find.
I think most probably the reason that they put the in the advertisement the word syarikah land, the co-proprietor, is difficulties in getting the loan from the bank, because if you want to, in terms of the keeping of the original title, it's nothing to do. That's my opinion. It's nothing to do with actually administration of estate. Since we apply this tenancy in common, there is no issue actually on the distributions or the transfer or transmissions of the asset to the beneficiary when it comes to administration of estate. So sebenarnya tu lebih kepada the reason bank refuse to accept such a, atau grant such a loan is more on the issue of foreclosure. Nanti kalau dia tak default in paying, dia having difficulty, dia tak boleh nak sale ataupun apply for order for sale of that land. I think it's something that you need to do research on that lah. So kita nampak scope tu lebih clear, you are looking at which angle. Ya, takut nanti confuse, especially the examiner. You nak tengok angle mana, sebab when talking about land, dia ada banyak angle, sama ada dealing with the land ataupun when it comes to the distribution or administration of the estate after the death. You kena focus on that. Maksudnya nampak scope tadi.
Yes, kiranya based on my current research that I decide to do, doctor can say that I have two different.
Kita tahu mana siapa. You nak tengok yang administration ke, you nak tengok dari segi angle in dealing with the land. Sebab in dealing with the land, memang dia ada restriction kat situ, memang bank tak nak terima bila ada especially co-proprietorship ni, ya, co-owner ni, sebab dia akan issue of foreclosure atau enforcement of the especially the instruments of charge lah. Dia tak boleh buat. Jadi kita tengoklah, kena clear the direction. You're looking dekat angle dalam dealing with the land itself ataupun you're looking at the pentadbiran lepas dia mati nanti. So nampaklah scope tu. I guess that's
Thank you Dr. Azani for the explanation.
Terima kasih Nur Akmal Adan di atas pembentangan sebentar tadi.
Welcome.
Kita teruskan dengan sesi yang ke-10. Saya ingin mempersilakan Nabila Ayuni daripada Jabatan Undang-Undang dengan tajuk pembentangan The Administration and Management of Frozen Estates in Penang, a Socio-Legal Analysis. Dipersilakan.
Okey, boleh tengok tak slide saya? Hello?
Ya.
Nampak jelas.
Okey.
Boleh nampak, okey. Saya start okey. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In a very good evening. I bid to all respected lecturers here. My name is Nabila Ayuni and I am very concerned about the awareness of Malaysians on estate management after death. Okay, have you wondered if someone in your family dies, what will happen to the assets if there is no application being made? If there is no action taken to claim the property after 6 months of the date of the death? Or maybe application has been made but it's unsettled yet because of several reasons. Scary thing is the asset will become frozen and cannot be used anymore. Recently, the newspaper has reported that there are 70 billion ringgit of properties in Malaysia that are classified as frozen property in 2020. And the number of frozen properties in Malaysia have increased drastically each year. The issue of frozen properties in Malaysia is a very vital issue, very alarming, and should be taken seriously. And the latest study shows that in Kampung Baru, Kuala Lumpur alone, the actual value of frozen properties is actually much greater than 60 billion ringgit. Then, how about other parts in Malaysia, including in Penang? Even if there are many reports on frozen properties, however, the actual value of frozen land in Penang is uncertain and cannot be confirmed. Penang is a Malaysian state located in the northern area, and despite of its tiny size, Penang is actually one of the largest contributors to the economy of Malaysia in 2015. Therefore, my research aims to analyze the administration and management of frozen immovable estates in Penang. Why? This is because Penang actually has its own statute, that is National Land Code Penang and Malacca Act 1963, which needs to be analysed further. And I also want to ensure that property ownership can be handed over to the entitled heir, because the entitled heir needs to get their rights. However, until proper research is done to find a solution, the frozen land cannot be used, and sadly, this will affect the beneficiaries. I'm going to do content analysis, which includes library research, and also field study, which includes focus group discussion and semi-structured interview with relevant agencies. It is hoped that the result of this research will have an impact to protect the right and interests of eligible Penang beneficiaries, and frozen land can be administered to produce social and economic benefits to the people of Penang. With that, I end my 3 minutes presentation. Thank you for lending me your ears.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Nabila Ayuni.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations for the presentation. So I just have a look at the topic. They mentions the administrations and managements of the frozen immovable estate in Penang. So previously you mentioned about the 70 billion of unadministered estate. Kan? Now you are focusing on you're focusing now on Penang. Okay. So you mentioned the immovable estate. So actually you nak tahu you punya scope is that you are looking at the unadministered estate because in looking at administered estate in the terms of apa dia punya lakuna ataupun buat apa restriction kat situ yang unable to administer the estate, or you are looking on the law itself, yeah, the restrictions in terms of the law, atau in terms of something to do with the procedure, the birokrasi in administering the estate, ke macam mana? Sebab tadi kat saya tengok topik yang asal tu you don't mention tak ada word immovable, so I think that movable estate mungkin tukar kepada real estate lah, kan? The real estate. So the real estate, the immovable estate, so nak tengok dari segi the law itself, okay, dalam in terms of the legal issue will be the issue, are you looking at the legal issues in administering this estate ke macam mana? So you mentioned social legal means it involve both, so you nak tengok dua-dua. The reason why I asked that is because to do a masters, yeah, at least kalau at least you focus something on, kalau nak tengok legal issues, yeah, more on the issues itself. Sebab bila social legals ni more on the field world, so you have to get the data, dan nanti time, yeah, maksudnya the time constraint to the issue will be there lah. Sebab sebab kadang-kadang bila kita discuss on the looking at this the frozen estate most probably kita boleh tengok lebih on the law, the legal impact of it lah. Kita tengok macam mana. So you punya direction, so you punya scope tu macam mana?
Okay, firstly Doktor,
social legal tu, the social tu, dia punya metodologi tu you nak tengok dia pakai apa? Kualitatif macam mana? Kualitatif.
Ya, kualitatif.
So social tu in terms of you nak tengok macam mana dan dia punya metodologi tu macam mana, responden dia siapa macam mana?
For qualitative, I'm going to do field study. I'm going to interview relevant agencies such as Estate Distribution Division and Land Office in Penang. This is because I want to obtain the actual value of frozen immovable estates in Penang. And this research will also involve questionnaires by conducting interviews to get feedback from the public at Penang.
Okay. Sebab kadang-kadang in analysis ni, you ada two option. Either you pergi from the top down ataupun from the bottom up lah. So it means that kalau you go top down, it means that you're looking at sort of amendment for reform of the law, kan? So dekat situ the probability that you tak perlu nak pergi nak distribute the questionnaire ataupun nak pergi interview, I think that one can be discussed with your supervisor lah, you may supervisor nanti, yeah. So at least you nampak the scope macam mana. So when you mention about social legal analysis, so apa sebenarnya you nak cari daripada situ lah, kita nak tahu apa benda yang the data yang nak dapat dekat situ. Sebab especially when it involve the unadministered estate ni, dia akan banyak lebih kepada in terms of dia punya procedure part lah, yeah? The issue of the law and the procedure, di mana dekat situ ada restriction for the beneficiary ataupun for the administration of that estate, menyebabkan especially when it involves several layer of beneficiary.
Yeah, very soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Terima kasih kepada Nabila Ayuni di atas presentasi sebentar tadi. Terima kasih juga kepada panel penilai kita, Dr. Azhani Arsyad. Kini tibalah masanya ke sesi yang terakhir iaitu sesi yang ke-11. Saya ingin mempersilakan dulu panel penilai untuk sesi ini, Dr. Haryati Mansur dan Dr. Azhani Arsyad. Okay, saya ingin mempersilakan peserta yang ke-11, Nur Intan Wahab daripada Jabatan Undang-Undang dengan tajuk pembentangan beliau, Corporate Rescue Mechanism in Malaysia, a Comparative Legal Analysis. Dipersilakan.
Puan Intan, suara tak dengar, tak ada suara.
Masih tak dengar lagi?
On
Oh,
mic.
okay. Okay. Terlupa nak on mic. So sorry. Okay, kejap Sorry. Okay. Nampak kan? So when we fall sick, we usually have the option to go to the doctor and seeking for treatment. And the doctor would suggest a medicine based on the types and illness that we have. They cannot ask you to take a diabetic medicine if you are being diagnosed with a high blood pressure. And the kind of treatment is different between children and an adult patient. Don't get me wrong, because I'm not a medical student, but rather a law student. But it keeps me wonder, what if the one who is ill or sick is not even a human being, but rather an artificial legal person, which is the companies and small businesses? Do they fall sick and ill? And if they do, what kind of treatment do they have to treat this kind of patients? Whether the treatment that they give is enough to rescue these ailing companies. So this is what my research is all about, Corporate Rescue Mechanism, or CRM. In the early diagnosis, I found out that these companies and small businesses do fall sick and ill, and their sickness is also similar with us. They got stressed out, financially. So I call it a financial distress syndrome. So that's why my research is very significant, because I will examine what kind of treatment that the corporate law got to offer to these ailing companies and businesses. It's like giving a second chance to these ailing companies. And I will also critically scrutinize whether there are any constraint or hiccup in the treatment offered in rescuing them. So by employing a qualitative research methods, I will do a content analysis by reviewing all the relevant literature, including a study on all the primary and secondary material related to DCRM. And I will also carry on a focus group discussion and semi-structured interviews. And I realized that the new CRM has advantages in terms of it is cheaper and faster process. But nonetheless, there are drawbacks or possible weaknesses in some of the restructuring or treatment option. But a major limitation is that the limited applications of the CRM itself. This is actually lead to its ineffectiveness in helping the ailing companies. So what can we do if a treatment has some drawback? One of the options would be to return to the parliament and to amend the law, but it will take longer time. Therefore, I would propose and suggest that improvement should be done to enable the companies and the creditors to be made aware of this treatment So they will be given the opportunity to apply for the suitable treatment with the hope that they will survive and do not rush to apply for a winding up procedure. Because someone told me that sometimes in life you are not always given a second chance, but if you do, take advantage of it and go out with a bang. Thank you.
Terima kasih. Dipersilakan panel penilai untuk sesi soalan jawab.
Okay, I'll go first ya, Azani.
Boleh.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to congratulate Intan for your presentation. I only have one question, Intan. Your study is basically a comparative study. May I know which legal system are you comparing with and why?
Okay, I'm intending to do a comparison with our neighbor country, Singapore, because both of our country is from the same, we apply the same common law system.
Only with Singapore?
Actually, I'm intending to compare it also with United Kingdom, but I guess I'll be having a problem because I'm doing a field study, so doing a interview. So I might have some issues if I want to interview those relevant agencies in UK. So that would be my my problem now. I'm still thinking of it, Doctor.
Okay, I think it's just we need to discuss on the methodology of your research a bit more, I guess, on that.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thanks. That's all.
Okay. Assalamualaikum, Nur Intan.
Waalaikumsalam, Doctor.
I have to admit that this is actually not my area of research or interest. Tak tahu kenapa dia masukkan I sekali. So, I tiba-tiba jadi pakar ini. Okay. So just now ask you now, it's about, now you're saying that comparative studies, looking at other jurisdictions, you're saying just now. So
yes.
My advice is at least to look at 2 or 3 jurisdictions, yeah, if you want to compare that, especially when the research, you're doing research on PhD research, kan? Okay. And then the existing law, kita punya legal framework, isn't it? So you're trying to look at the inadequacy, is it, of the law?
Yes, correct, Doctor.
Okay, so it means that akan ada at the end nanti there will be some sort, are you looking at the reform of the law, sebab kita punya Companies Act pun baru saja kita repeal, kan?
Betul, correct, Doctor.
So is it looking at something to do with the law atau you are going to suggest some sort of guideline? I don't know. Itu macam mana? Ataupun is it
I'm actually
initial study kan sekarang ni. So
betul.
I mean there is a inadequacy in terms of the process of administering the law itself ataupun in terms of the substantive part. Macam mana?
Okay.
So, I was asking that sebab kita punya Companies Act baru repeal kan, so macam okay.
Correct, because I'm actually suggesting to do an improvement to the rescue mechanism, the corporate rescue mechanism, because there are lots of limitation. Kalau tengok dekat slide tadi, kita offered few mechanism, tapi those mechanism were not, I would say, were not good enough to aid the ailing companies because they are having lots of restriction in that CRM itself. So I'm actually suggesting to do an improvement because kalau previously kita tengok CRM bawah Companies Act 1965 dia lebih kepada nak go for an winding up process. So kita tak nak, kita nak companies ni semua boleh rehabilitate. Kita nak biar dia kita nak bantu dia, nak bagi dia second chance untuk treat dia orang.
Okay. So now the comparative legal analysis is at the end. Yeah, after looking at this the other jurisdiction, your intention is to propose some sort of reform to the law, macam tu?
Betul.
Okay. So it means, does it involve the methodology itself, qualitative or just a doctrinal research, something?
Planning to do a qualitative, but just need to discuss it further with my SV.
I see. Okay, then I wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor.
Assalamualaikum, Nurintan.
Waalaikumsalam, Doctor.
This is not my area, don't worry. I'm not going to ask you any question related to the field, but I would like to congratulate the way you started your presentation, though this is not my area at all. But the idea of aiding company, giving treatment, I know this has got to do something related to companies having problem in Malaysia. These are areas like Dr. Azihadni and Haryati, maybe they are good in it. I was just wondering, is there anything related to companies now? Well, this is not maybe not your scope. I was just wondering, out of curiosity. Is there anything related to nowadays we have COVID pandemic and you see companies are shutting down, closing. Is there anything related to that? Are you looking something what has this contribution that you can share later on after your research?
Yes, Dr. Amina. I'm actually, because now we are having this global pandemic which affects the economic, our economy. So there are lots of companies yang ada problem, ada financial distress. So kalau kita tengok kebanyakan diorang ni, kebanyakan these companies, they prefer to shut the company down or shut the businesses down rather than try to get a treatment from the provision that being offered in the Companies Act 2016, because we do have the provision. It's just that my question is again whether this mechanism that being offered in the Companies Act ni is enough to help these companies facing this pandemic. Macam sebab diorang akan face financial distress kan.
Betul. Thank you.
Welcome, Doktor.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada Puan Nur Intan Wahab di atas pembentangan sebentar tadi. Dengan itu berakhirlah sudah pembentangan oleh 11 peserta. Sekali lagi saya ingin mengambil kesempatan ini untuk mengucapkan ribuan terima kasih kepada semua panel penilai yang sudi menjadi juri pada hari ini. Profesor Dr. Ismail Ahmad, Profesor Madya Dr. Muhammad Halim Kadri, Dr. Aminah Bibi, Dr. Noraizah Abu Bakar, Dr. Muhammad Ali Muhammad Dun, Dr. Mahfuzah Muhammad Zabidi, Dr. Faridah Najuna Misman, Dr. Akmal Aini Osman, Profesor Madya Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Rafiza Muhammad Daud, Dr. Samsul On, Profesor Madya Dr. Raja Azrin Raja Ahmad, Dr. Noraizah Abu Bakar, Dr. Muhammad Rifai Muhammad Ali, Profesor Madya Dr. Nora Ismail, Dr. Norma Ismail, Dr. Azhani Arsyad serta Dr. Haryati Mansur. Tidak dilupakan kepada 11 peserta kita yang telah membuat pembentangan yang cukup menarik. Muhammad Hidir Baharudin daripada ACIS, Rohaya Sulaiman daripada ACIS, Puan Jana Munirah Muhammad Nur daripada Fakulti Pengurusan Perniagaan, Puan Aisyah Suhaimi daripada Fakulti Pengurusan Perniagaan, Zulaika Atira Al-Izman daripada Fakulti Sains Gunaan, Encik Hod Amin daripada Fakulti Perakaunan, Ain Akila Azamuddin daripada Fakulti Sains Komputer dan Matematik, Nur Hijah Jasman daripada Akademi Pengajian Bahasa, Nur Akmal Adnan daripada Jabatan Undang-Undang, Nabila Ayuni daripada Jabatan Undang-Undang dan Nur Intan Wahab daripada Jabatan Undang-Undang. So, sekarang ini kita akan menunggu keputusan daripada panel penilai. Kita akan memilih 3 pembentang terbaik pada hari ini. Antara kriteria yang diambil kira oleh panel penilai kita, yang pertama adalah daripada segi content. I'm sorry, it's in English. The thesis topic, content and its significance were communicated effectively in language appropriate to an intelligent but non-specialist audience. The expected results will be significant to humankind or animal kind. And then the second criteria is delivery. The presentation was able to engage the audience with effective use of language and body language. The oration made the audience wanted to know more about the research, and also in the criteria of slide, the slide is comprehensive with effective use of keywords and graphics. So thank you very much to all our panels. Perhatian kepada para peserta di ruangan chat juga, terdapat banyak komen-komen yang diberikan oleh para juri, para penilai kita kerana mungkin menghormati masa tadi, jadi mereka hanya menuliskan komen di ruangan chat lah. Okay, jika Dr. Nur Sufiawati sudah sedia dengan keputusan kita.
Assalamualaikum. Tunggu sekejap ya. Kita sedang menunggu satu lagi ni.
Okey, sementara tu diingatkan kepada semua para peserta, panel penilai dan juga pemerhati-pemerhati yang mungkin daripada kita bersama kita daripada awal tadi, boleh isikan borang kehadiran yang mana linknya kita telah sediakan di ruangan chat. Okay, saya mewakili seluruh ahli jawatan kuasa ingin memohon maaf di atas segala kekurangan dan kesilapan yang berlaku. Mungkin ada sedikit masalah teknikal juga sebentar tadi. InsyaAllah untuk masa akan datang kami akan cuba perbaiki dan tambah baik. Kami juga amat menghargai kesudian kesemua panel penilai kita sudi mengambil sedikit masa untuk menjadi juri pada program hari ini. Saya Dr. Azhani Arsyad. Dr. Azhani Arsyad, saya mohon untuk Doktor isikan borang penilaian. Ya. Doktor kami tengah tunggu.
Sorry. Saya cari link balik.
Ya. Doktor boleh lihat link dah disertakan di ruangan chat. Boleh isikan markah supaya kami boleh pilih. Okay. Ahli jawatan kuasa sedang kira-kira siapakah agaknya 3 pembentang yang terbaik pada hari ini. Sudah semestinya setiap peserta kita ada kelebihan masing-masing. Pelbagai tajuk yang telah dikongsikan. Okey, untuk pengetahuan semua, tidak sia-sia peserta kita pada hari ini. Tempat pertama akan menerima hadiah berjumlah RM50. Tempat kedua akan menerima hadiah berjumlah RM30 dan tempat ketiga hadiah berjumlah RM20. Okay, nampaknya Dr. Noraiza Abu Bakar dah ucapkan tahniah in advance kepada bakal para pemenang. Thank you very much Dr. Noraiza untuk komen-komen tersebut. This session will become a good platform for PhD students to share their idea clearly before start the journey. InsyaAllah kita akan teruskan program ini di masa-masa akan datang. Kami mengharapkan juga komen, maklum balas yang baik daripada semua panel kita jika ada untuk kita tambah baik. Ataupun mungkin tadi ada panel yang sementara kita menunggu keputusan, mungkin ada tadi panel yang tidak sempat untuk bertanya, mungkin boleh gunakan sekejap masa yang kita ada ni. Boleh komen di ruangan chat dan sebagainya. Okay, komen daripada Dr. Raja Azrun Raja Ahmad. Thank you very much, the organizer. Congratulations to all the presenters. Well done. Wish you all the best of luck in your studies. Okay, daripada Dr. Nur Aiza. Good job all the presenter. Wish you all the best journey of PhD. Okay, kita masih lagi menantikan keputusan. Itu dia. Okay, saya persilakan
okey.
Dr. Nur Sufiawati.
Okey. Saya kira semua orang tertunggu-tunggu dengan penutupnya lah sebenarnya, iaitu pengumuman siapakah pemenang pertama, kedua dan ketiga untuk 3MI kita pada kali ini. Okey, saya sebut yang nombor 3, tak boleh lah. Okey, yang pertama dululah. Okey, yang pertama markah tertinggi iaitu 23.67 per 30 markah. Dimenangi oleh Ain Akila Azamuddin main supervisor Dr. Muhammad Rifai dia punya panel adalah Dr. Muhammad Riwai serta Dr. Aminah Bibi serta Dr. Nuraiza panelnya tadi. Okey, Ain Akila merupakan pelajar kepada Dr. Nurul Aini serta Dr. Muhammad Riwai. Alright, so Ain Akila akan mendapat RM50 seperti yang diumumkan Puan Syazana serta juga sijil digital lah. Okey. Dan pemenang kedua sebenarnya markah sama dengan yang ketiga lah. Okey. Jadi mereka kena bahagi hadiah tu nanti. Pemenang kedua dan ketiga ni saya umumkan serentak iaitu Encik Hod Amin dan juga Zulaika Atirah. Markah masing-masing sama 23 per 30. Okey, so nanti diharapkan tahniah ya. Diharapkan Ain Akila, Hod Amin dengan Zulaika Atirah nanti Dr. Nurul Aini akan hubungi untuk minta informasi bank untuk kami buat transfer online lah. Okey, sedikit hadiah sagu hati daripada pihak kami. Okey, itu saja. Saya serahkan kembali kepada moderator. Terima kasih.
Alhamdulillah, terima kasih Dr. Nur Sufiawati. Sekali lagi tahniah diucapkan kepada pemenang kita yang pertama Ain Akila Azamuddin daripada FSKM. Yang kedua berkongsi tempat Encik Hod Amin dan juga Zulaika Atirah. Sekali lagi diucapkan terima kasih kepada semua panel penilai. Terima kasih kepada semua para peserta. Tahniah sekali lagi kepada para pemenang. Saya sekali lagi mewakili seluruh ahli jawatankuasa memohon maaf di atas segala kekurangan serta kesilapan sepanjang program ini berlangsung. Dengan itu kita akhiri program kita pada hari ini. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sekian, terima kasih.